Hello everyone. Today let us discuss the D and F block elements, which is very important as far as KSET and NEET exams concerned. So, in general, the D and F block elements are located in between S and P block elements from group 3 to group 12. So, there are four series which are located in between S and P blocks. That is 3D, 4D, 5D, 6D. I have given here the atomic numbers of 3D series which start from 21 and ends with 30. Like that for 4D 39 to 48, 5D 71 to 80, then 6D 103 to 112. As far as a block element concerned, which are located at the bottom of the periodic table and designated as 4F and 5F series element. 4F series elements are said to be lanthanides, whereas 5F series elements are said to be actinides. So 4F series start from 57 atomic number to 70, and 5F series element atomic number starts from 89 to 102. Then, what is the definition of D block element? The elements of periodic table belongs to group 3 to group 12 are known as D block element. Because in these elements, last electron enters in a D subshell or a D orbital. The D block elements are said to be which in where the last electron enters into D subshell, and the element as already have given with atomic number from 21 to 30. The elements are scandium to zinc 21, where the two electrons enters into 4s orbital. One is in a 3D. Like that, the number of s electrons and number of d electrons present in each element from scandium to zinc, scandium, titanium, vanadium, chromium, manganese, iron, cobalt, nickel, copper, and zinc respectively, which are belongs to 3D series. The number of electrons present in 4s as well as 3D orbitals, which are also given here. Like that in a 4D series, where it begins from yttrium and ends with cadmium. Like that, 5D series starts with lanthanum and ends with mercury. And 6D series, that also given here with the number of electrons present in S subshell as well as D subshell respectively. So generally, these D block elements are also called as transition element because they have properties which are similar to or which are intermediate to S and P block element. Means there is a gradual decrease in metallic and increase in non-metallic character. But a very interesting point to be note that these D block elements are to call it as a transition element, they must and should have a partially filled n-1 d orbital. All D block elements are not transition element, but all transition elements are D block element. It is because either in their atomic state or ionic state, they must and should have partially filled D subshell. So even zinc is located in a D block element because of its D configuration, but it is said to be pseudo transition element because either in its atomic state or in its ionic state or in its any of oxidation state, it has a fulfilled d orbital. That is why the elements zinc, cadmium, mercury, which are said to be pseudo transition element. And what are the general properties of d block element? Generally, the very important properties of d block elements are their respective atomic and ionic size, then ionization enthalpy, oxidation state, color, catalytic properties, magnetic properties, formation of complex compound, and lastly formation of interstitial compound. And in general, let us begin with their electronic configuration. Let us consider 3D series element. From scandium to zinc, the number of electrons present in 3D subshell that I have given here. Scandium, it begins with first element with atomic number 21. It has one d electron. Like that, titanium, vanadium, chromium, manganese. Iron onwards, one of the d subshell get paired. That increases from iron to zinc, where last element zinc has completely filled both 3D as well as 4F subshell. So regarding their melting and boiling point, as the large number of unpaired electrons which present in a D block, these particular 3D series element, 4D, 5D series, as well as 6D series element. Very interesting to note that due to presence of large number of unpaired electrons, they take part in metallic bonding, what we call interatomic interaction. Higher the interatomic interaction, stronger will be the element, and hence they possess high melting point and boiling point. But graphically, when it is observed, it is increases from titanium, from 3D series, titanium up to chromium, it increases. Sudden decrease in manganese. It is because of imperfection. But high melting point and boiling point element of this 3D series or 4D, 5D in general D block element, that is tungsten, which is represented graphically here. And regarding their atomic radii as well as ionic side. To understand atomic radii and ionic side, we should know about three factors. That is number one. One is their nuclear charge. Second one is screening effect. And what is the relation between these two? This is third point. So at the beginning, the entering electron along with nuclear charge also increases. Electron enters and nuclear charge increases, thereby screening effect decreases. That means from scandium to manganese. Just observe here. At the beginning, it's slowly decreasing. In the middle, it is almost same. At the end, once again, it increases. For this, you should conclude like this. At the beginning, nuclear charge dominates over screening effect. In between, nuclear charge equally compensated by screening effect. At the end, screening effect dominates over nuclear charge. That is why you can observe at the beginning a decrease in atomic size, at the end once again increase in atomic size. The same thing is quoted here, but very interesting to note that the radii of third or 5D series are almost similar to that of 4D series element. It is because of lanthanide contraction. The phenomenon where the imperfection of 4f orbital from 4D series elements onwards, f orbital entry, where 4f orbital doesn't show interest in participation of screening effect. That means imperfect in screening effect by f orbital. That leads to decrease in their atomic radii. What we call it as lanthanide contraction. As a net result, the lanthanide contraction that leads to second and third D series elements exhibit similar atomic radii. So in your exam, you may expect that. Why zirconium and hafnium, though they belong to two different D block series, that they possess similar atomic radii. You can give reason. It is none other than lanthanide contraction. So the next factor is ionization energy. As we know that ionization energy and atomic size as well as nuclear charge, because ionization energy is a factor not only decided by only atomic size, increase in atomic size, decrease in ionization energy, but at the same time, increase in nuclear charge, ionization energy also increases. That means, as we observed in atomic as well as ionic radii of D block element, there is not a regular trend observed. Beginning decreases, in between it is similar, at the end it increases. Due to an increase in nuclear charge, which is accompanied by the filling of inner d orbital, there is an increase in ionization enthalpy along its reef. However, there is a large variations are observed because ionization energy is a factor. It is not only decided by atomic size. Ionization energy is decided by following factors. Number one, atomic size. Number two, nuclear charge. Number three, screening effect. Number four, electronic configuration. Lastly, penetration effect. By concluding all the factors, ionization energy can be predicted. That means that is why a variation is observed. It is not with a regular trend. That also observed even in a 3D series element, which is quoted here from scandium to zinc. Then regarding oxidation state. So due to very small energy difference between that n minus 1 d orbital and ns subshell. Electrons of both subshells can take part in bonding, which leads to exhibition of large number of oxidation state. Particularly, I have quoted here the 3D series elements oxidation state. So at the beginning, from scandium to zinc, scandium shows +3 oxidation state. Then titanium shows 3, vanadium shows 4 oxidation state, chromium 5. Like that manganese, it shows +2 to +7. So iron onwards once again in the middle. That is why it is to be noted that the elements which give the maximum or greatest number of oxidation states occur in or near the middle of series. For example, manganese, which is capable of showing even from +2 to +7. Low oxidation states are found when complex compounds have capacity of showing pi bonding, what we call pi acceptor character, in addition to sigma bonding. So, for example, tetracarbonyl nickel, pentacarbonyl iron, where the oxidation state of nickel and iron is 0. This shows that these elements, when they form complexes, particularly with pi acceptor character containing ligand, they can also exhibit 0 oxidation state. So these d block elements are capable of exhibiting color. So why most of the transition metals capable of showing color character? It is because of, so in a d subshell, totally 5 subshells, they breaks up into T2G and EZ when either they are in a forming complex form or in a solution state. So T2G and EZ orbital. T2G means dxy, dyz, dxz. EZ means dx square minus y square, then dz square. So under the influence of a ligand, these unpaired electrons present in lower orbital, they excite to EZ orbital, thereby causing DD transition. And this DD transition leads to observe in a visible region a particular frequency or wavelength, whatever you can use, observed color with respect to wavelength, what color it absorbs and what color it emits. That is given by a Moonshell diagram. So if it absorbs, for example, if it absorbs violet color and it gives a greenish yellow color. If it absorbs blue, yellow color, bluish green, red. Like that, if it absorbs red color, it may produce green color. So then comes with catalytic properties. So D block elements are capable of showing large number of catalytic activity. These properties are due to presence of unpaired electrons in their d orbital. Already we know that d subshells are partially filled. Still large number of vacant positions are available in a d subshell. At the same time, these d block elements are also capable of showing variable oxidation state, thereby capable of forming intermediate. In the most cases, these are said to be metal and they provide large surface area with a free valency so that the catalytic activity can be increased. Certain examples which are given here. So vanadium pentoxide, which is used in contact process as catalyst. Finely divided iron, which is used in preparation of ammonia by Haber's process. In a catalytic hydrogenation, nickel is used as catalyst. In a synthesis of a gasoline, cobalt is used as catalyst. Then comes with standard electrode potential value. So electrode potentials are the measure of value of total enthalpy change. So electrode potential values can be calculated using a simple composition of, by knowing their enthalpy of atomization, ionization energies, then hydration energy. And at the same time, the main factor is enthalpy of hydration. Lower the standard electrode potential value, that is reduction, the more stable is the oxidation state of metal in aqueous solution. So for example, For a first row transition metal, their E naught values are given here. It is observed that vanadium, manganese, chromium, iron, cobalt, nickel, but last element copper, that is showing positive oxidation state. Why this irregularity? They are not in proper order. Why this is observed to be? The values are irregular. It can be explained. It is based on knowing their ionization enthalpies as well as sublimation enthalpies, which are less for a manganese and vanadium, where their hydration enthalpy is dominated. If hydration enthalpy is more, definitely the values are negative. More the negative value, then more stronger will be its reducing nature. So due to positive E naught value of copper, it does not liberate hydrogen from acid. So there is an increase in sum of first and second ionization energy, as already I told. The general trend, when it is observed, the electrode potential values toward negative, that to be less negative. It is because of, once again, attributed to the factor E naught is equals to delta enthalpy of sublimation plus first ionization energy plus second ionization energy plus enthalpy of hydration. Very interesting to note that. When we observe that table, vanadium, chromium, manganese, and nickel, they are showing more negative in their electrode potential value from their expected. Why it is so? It is not only the case based on these factors, it is also the stability of half-filled D subshell in Mn+2 and completely filled D10 configuration, as well as that high negative hydration enthalpy for a nickel. These factors can be attributed. Why manganese is showing, Mn+2 is showing negative electrode potential? It is because of half-filled D subshell configuration. Why zinc shows negative? It is because of completely filled D configuration. Why nickel also shows that negative value? It is because of its high negative enthalpy of hydration. The low value for scandium, it reflects that scandium +3, that which has a noble gas configuration. That means the highest value for a zinc is due to the removal of an electron from the stable D10 configuration of Zn+2. That is comparatively high value for Mn. That also shows D5, that is particularly stable half-filled electronic configuration. When Mn+2 get changes into Mn+3, whereas Fe+2 changes into Fe+3, the value of Fe+3 is more stable, whereas just it is because of when Fe+2 changes to Fe+3, it acquires D5 configuration. Then comes the magnetic property. Those substances which contain either in their atomic state, ionic state, or molecule state, which contain unpaired electrons in their orbitals, they are said to be paramagnetic in nature. Paramagnetic substances are weakly attracted by magnetic field. If they are strongly attracted, then they are called ferromagnetic. The substances which do not contain any unpaired electron and they get repelled by magnetic field, then they are said to be diamagnetic. The three magnetic properties that one can predict with a D block element, it may be paramagnetism, it may be ferromagnetism, or it may be diamagnetism. So transition metals usually contain unpaired electrons. That is why they are paramagnetic. This paramagnetic behavior increases with increase in unpaired electron, that leads to ferromagnetism. The paramagnetism property can be expressed in terms of magnetic moment, and which can be calculated by spin only formula, that is mu is equal to square root of n bracket n+2, where n is number of unpaired electrons. By substituting the number of unpaired electrons present in each of the given ion, for example, if it is scandium plus 3, there is no unpaired electron, then calculated value is 0. If it is titanium plus 3, it has one unpaired electron, definitely its magnetic moment value is 1.73, which is also similar to observed value. Like that, titanium plus 2, vanadium plus 2, chromium plus 2, manganese plus 2. These ions depends on their number of unpaired electrons. One can easily predict their respective magnetic moment value. So, D block elements are also capable of showing one more very interesting property, that is complex formation. The complex forming tendency of D block elements are due to following reason. It is because of their small size and their high ionic charge. The ratio of charge by size is called as polarizing power. Higher the polarizing power, more stronger will be their capacity to form complexes. And at the same time, they are also capable of producing large number of vacant d orbitals for covalency or bond formation. Because of these factors, d block elements are capable of forming many number of complexes. And at the same time, these d block elements are also capable of showing one more interesting property, that is formation of interstitial compound. So what are interstitial compound? When small atoms like hydrogen, carbon or nitrogen, when they are trapped inside the crystal lattices of metal, then they are said to be interstitial compound. When these interstitial compounds are formed, when they are observed, they are usually non-stoichiometric in nature. Means if it is expected with a whole number composition, they are not in whole number composition. For example, titanium carbide, manganese nitride, iron hydride, vanadium hydride, titanium hydride. See the value of hydrogen in a titanium hydride, it is 1.7. Value of hydrogen in vanadium hydride, it is 0.56. That means these smaller atoms are get trapped. The metal surfaces provided by this respective d block element. And what are the properties of these interstitial compounds? These interstitial compounds have very high melting point compared to their pure form metal. It is because of a trapping that leads to more number of forces development that may need more energy for their decomposition. That is why they possess high melting point compared to their purest form. And at the same time, due to large number of these new forces are formed, they are very hard. Very important to note that even certain borides, when they form with these d block element, their hardness is even reaches up to diamond. As we all know that diamond is the hardest substance to known, but certain d block element, when they form such interstitial compound, particularly in a boride form, their hardness is also compared with a diamond. And at the same time, they doesn't lose their metallic conductivity. And at the same time, they are chemically inert. Totally, four characteristics can be observed with respect to interstitial compound. That is high melting point, then they are very hard, then they possess metallic conductivity, and they are chemically inert in nature. Next very important character of D block elements are they are also capable of forming alloys. So to form alloy, one very important condition, the two metals which capable of participating in alloy formation, their atomic radius should be similar or not more than 15%. If it is less than 15%, then only these elements are capable of forming alloys. And due to this similar radii, which is almost comparable in terms of less than 15%, transition metals are capable of forming large number of alloys. Certain alloys, for example, ferrous alloys. Ferrous alloys with chromium, vanadium, tungsten, molybdenum, and manganese. They are used for production of varieties of steels and stainless steel, railway tracks, those metallic strength, that tensile strength is developed by forming alloys of iron with chromium, and these alloys are possessing high melting point. Alloys of these transition metals is also possible with certain non-transition metals also. For example, brass, copper with zinc, bronze, copper with tin. Because of their respective atomic radii are not more than 15% different. If the difference is more than 15%, then they couldn't form alloys. Then oxides and oxyanions of these metals. The first transition series forms varieties of oxides in their different oxidation state. They can form +2, MO type, M2O3 type, M3O6, MO2, MO3 respectively. These oxides are generally formed by heating the metal with oxygen at high temperature. And the nature of these oxides are: scandium formed oxide is basic in nature. Titanium is capable of forming basic as well as amphoteric type oxides. Vanadium is capable of forming basic, amphoteric as well as acidic oxide. Like that, chromium, manganese, iron, cobalt, nickel, copper, zinc, all are capable of forming oxides, but depends upon their composition, they are capable of exhibiting basic or amphoteric or acidic nature. In general, how to predict? If they are in their lower oxidation state, then those oxides are basic in nature. If they form oxide in their highest oxidation state, then they are acidic. If they are in intermediate oxidation state, they are amphoteric. Lower oxidation state, basic. Higher oxidation state, acidic. Intermediate oxidation state, amphoteric. For example, if manganese forms in +2 oxidation state, that oxide is basic. If it is in +3, that is basic. If it is in +7, that is acidic. Intermediates are amphoteric in nature. Lower oxidation states are basic in nature. Highest oxidation states are acidic in nature. Then regarding certain oxidizing agent character reactions of potassium dichromate. When acidified potassium dichromate will oxidize iodide to iodine, sulfides to sulfur, tin 2 to tin 4, iron 2 gets converted into iron 3. How to write these half cell reaction? That is given here, and at the same time how to write half cell reaction for that chromium in terms of potassium dichromate form. Cr27 minus 2 plus 14H plus 6Fe plus 2 gives rise to 2Cr plus 3 plus 6Fe plus 3 plus 7H2O. This is one example. For remaining reactions also, you can write by following redox reactions rule, that to be half cell reaction. So, two dichromates are possible, that is, it may be sodium dichromate or it may be potassium dichromate. Both are very strong oxidizing agent, but potassium dichromate is preferred as primary standard in volumetric analysis. Why not sodium dichromate? It is due to its more solubility, will not get accuracy. Because of this reason, potassium dichromate is more preferred compared to sodium dichromate. So these dichromates are capable of interconverting into chromate as well as dichromate form. Chromate ion and dichromate ion, their respective structures are given here. In a dichromate, two chromium atoms are linked with one oxygen. That means two tetrahedra are linked with, bridged by one oxygen atom with a bond angle 126 degree. And when we observe half cell reaction of this dichromate, its electrode potential value is found to be 1.33. That means it is a very strong oxidizing agent. So one more very important compound, from this d block element, particularly manganese compound potassium permanganate. The manganate and permanganate ions are tetrahedral in nature. The green manganate is paramagnetic with one unpaired electron, but the permanganate is diamagnetic. Very interesting to note that. In these two, either it may be dichromate or it may be potassium permanganate. All electrons are participate in covalency, but till they are colored, it is due to charge transfer. So coloration is observed as already we discussed. It may be due to DD transition. The color property is not only due to DD transition, it may also due to charge transfer. The elements, when we speak with the up block element, the elements in which the additional electron enters into anti-penultimate f orbital, that is n minus 2 f orbital, they are so called as inner transition element, and their general electronic configuration is represented as n minus 2 f0 to 14 n minus 1 d0 to 1 ns2. 4f enter in 4f inner transition metals are called as lanthanides because they come immediately after lanthanum. 5f inner transition metals are known as actinides because they come immediately after actinium. So element with their electronic configuration in their respective atomic state as well as in their their plus 3 oxidation state, because in a lanthanide plus 3 oxidation state is more stable from a lanthanum to lutetium. So with atomic number 57 to 71. So carefully observe their respective electronic configuration as well as their atomic size. From a lanthanum to lutetium, there is a decrease in their ionic size as well as atomic size, and this is attributed to lanthanide contraction. And why it observed? As atomic number increases in each succeeding element, which is added with one more electron in 4f orbital, at the same time one proton is also added to nucleus. But these 4f electrons are ineffective or less effective in participation in formation of a screen because of this imperfect shielding. As a result, there is a decrease in their size and increase in the nuclear attraction towards outer electron, which is called as lanthanide contraction. The imperfect shielding effect caused by 4f electron leads to increase in nuclear charge, thereby attracting outer electrons towards nucleus. Consequently, gradual decrease in their size, which is called as lanthanide contraction. What are the consequences of this lanthanide contraction? So as already we discussed in a transition element, the first consequence is there is almost similarity in their atomic size from 4d and 5d series. For example, zirconium and hafnium. That also leads to due to lanthanide contraction. Ionization energy of 5d series are higher than that of 3d and 4d series. That is also a consequence of lanthanide contraction. And difficulty in separation of lanthanide. That is also a consequence of lanthanide contraction. In addition to this, you can also add one more. That is, lanthanum hydroxide is more basic than lutetium hydroxide. And that basic character also easily predicted because of lanthanide contraction. So what about the ionization enthalpy of lanthanide? They are showing a less ionization energy. That may be around, first ionization energy may be around 600 and second is about 1200, comparable with calcium. And when it is comparable with calcium means that leads to their electropositive character. As we all know that calcium is an alkaline earth metal which is an electropositive. And when ionization energies of lanthanides are comparable with calcium, that means these lanthanides are also capable of showing electropositive character. And many of lanthanide ions are colored either in solid or in solution state, just like DD transition. Here also due to partially filled F orbital. Lanthanides are also capable of showing F transition, which leads to absorption and given out with a different color within visible region, and at the same time the absorption bands are narrow. It is because of within F level excitation takes place and they are colored. But lanthanum plus 3 and lutetium plus 3 are, they do not show color. Why? Lanthanum plus 3 means fully filled or vacant F orbital. From lanthanum plus 3 and lutetium plus 3, either vacant F orbital or fully filled F orbital is there, means there is no unpaired electron, and because of that these are colorless. And just like a transition element, lanthanides are also capable of showing magnetic properties. And which elements are capable of showing magnetic properties? Here are certain points. The lanthanide ions other than F0 type and other than F14 type are all paramagnetic. The paramagnetism is rising to maximum when we reaches to neodymium. And these lanthanides are having very high magnetic character due to large number of F unpaired electrons and their oxidation state. Predominantly, they are capable of showing +3 oxidation state. +3 oxidation state is more stable, empty, half-filled, or completely filled. But in addition to that, cerium and Tb both are showing +4 oxidation state because of reaching 4F0 and 4F7 stability. Occasionally, +2 and +4 ions are also present in solution, and this irregularity arises from their either empty, half-filled, or full-filled absorption. Here one question. Why samarium +2, europium +2, Ib +2 ions in solutions are good reducing agent, but an aqueous solution of cerium +4 is good oxidizing agent? Why? The reason for this one is the most stable oxidation state of lanthanides is +3. Hence, the ions in a +2 oxidation state want to change to +3. +2 to +3 means they have to lose electron. If they lose electron means definitely they can act as very good reducing agent. And at the same time, if they reaches +4 oxidation state, by losing one electron, they can reach their most stable +3 oxidation state. So that +4 to +3, if they want to reach means they have to gain an electron. By gaining, they can behave like oxidizing agent. That is why cerium +4. That solutions are widely used in volumetric analysis. So general properties of lanthanides are, they are silvery white soft metal and they get tarnished in air rapidly. Their hardness increases with increase in their atomic number. So one of the elements, samarium, it is a very strong, just like a steel. They are good conductors of heat and electricity. So only one element, that is promethium, which is radioactive in nature, from lanthanide series. Their chemical properties. These elements, when they are capable of showing properties similar, ionization energies are similar to calcium, means these are also capable of combining with hydrogen, and these are also capable of forming carbide. They can liberate hydrogen from dilute acid, and they can form oxides as well as hydroxide. So one flow chart is given. When they burnt with oxygen, they form lanthanum oxide, or generally Ln2O3. When they react with acid, they liberate hydrogen. When they react with halogen, they form halide. When they treated with water, they form hydroxide. When they treated with carbon, they form carbide. When they are heated with nitrogen, they form nitride. Then comes with actinide. The 5 series elements are said to be actinides. And actinides are radioactive in nature. Only thorium and uranium occur naturally. Both are more abundant in earth crust, even more than tin. The others must be made by only nuclear processor due to their short half-lives. The dominant oxidation state of actinides is +3. In addition to that, actinides are also capable of exhibiting even +4, even up to +6. For example, uranium, neptunium, plutonium, they are also capable of exhibiting +6 oxidation state. The actinide shows actinide contraction, just like lanthanide contraction. But due to poor shielding effect of nuclear charge by 5f electron, actinide contraction is higher than lanthanide contraction. All actinides are radioactive in nature. And actinide contraction. The contraction is greater from element to element in this series. It is due to poor shielding effect by 5f electron, which leads to actinide contraction. Generally, from actinium to lawrencium, their atomic numbers and their electronic configuration in their normal state and in their ionic state. Here also you can observe. There is a gradual decrease. There is a decrease in their atomic size, but that decrease is compared to lanthanide contraction is more. It is because of imperfection. Magnetic properties. Just like lanthanide, these are also due to presence of unpaired electrons. They are also showing paramagnetism. But their magnetic properties are more complex than that of lanthanide. And in concern with their melting points and boiling point, they are very high in terms of their melting point and boiling point. And at the same time, they do not follow a regular gradation, means a regular variation either towards increasing or decreasing, even though with increase in their atomic number. They are also showing low ionization energy that leads to high electropositive character. Due to presence of unpaired electrons and due to FF transition, these elements are also generally colored. But ions containing 5F0, 5F7, they are colorless. For example, uranium in its +3, still it contains 3F electron. It is reddish in color. Neptunium in +3, still it contains 4F electron. That is why it is bluish in color. Applications related to D and F block element, as you are all coming to know about their properties, that leads to catalytic property, complex formation, and these elements. For example, iron and steel, they are very important in construction. And their oxides, when they are impurities present like carbon and alloys, these alloys are particularly prepared for certain special purpose, such as titanium oxide for pigment industry, manganese oxide, which is used in dry battery cells. The battery industry also requires zinc and nickel cadmium. And at the same time, group 11 elements are more worthy because they are coinage elements. In addition to that, these D block elements are very good catalysts. And in chemical industry, for example, vanadium pentoxide, which catalyzes SO2 to SO3 in the manufacture of sulfuric acid. And at the same time, a composition of titanium tetrachloride and triethyl or trimethyl aluminium, which forms Ziegler-Natta catalyst, which is widely used in manufacturing polythene. Iron catalysts are used in a different processes. For example, in manufacturing ammonia by Haber's process, and in a catalytic hydrogenation process, nickel, cadmium, these are widely used. In a Wacker's process for oxidation of ethane, ethanol is catalyzed by palladium chloride. Nickel complexes are very useful in polymerization of alkyne and other organic compounds like benzene. The photographic industry depends on special light sensitive properties like silver bromide.